I was asked a question that I wanted to share with you today. How is forgiveness a gift to the forgiver and not the person who caused the harm? This was from a client who was struggling with forgiving. She was wondering, how can we get to the point of being willing to let go of ideas of revenge? We've all had those, yeah? Let's talk about this challenging idea. Listen in. Hi, I'm Brenda Reese, freedom and forgiveness coach, and a person just like you that is learning to navigate life and all of its challenges. I teach a forgiveness process like no other. It's a blend of practical and spiritual forgiveness. This process guides you into knowing how unforgiveness can be keeping you stuck in your relationships, both personally and professionally, and how it prevents you from releasing resentment and finding joy. Each week, I share practical and some not so practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and other people that are on this journey just like us. This is for you if you are ready to turn your pain into peace. Welcome to the Forgive Yourself podcast. When we think about forgiveness, it's easy to imagine it as something we give to someone who has wronged us. That's, I think, what keeps us from forgiving. But what if I told you that forgiveness is actually more about the one who forgives than the one who caused the harm? This is the conversation I was having with this client. What if the forgiveness is more about you than it is them? Now, we've all heard that. But let's explore why this is true and why the real power of forgiveness lies in how it transforms you and not them. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. Many people equate it with excusing someone's behavior or letting them off the hook. I hear this all the time. But that's not what we're talking about here. Forgiveness is actually about you, your emotional freedom, your inner peace, and your journey towards healing. It is an act of self-liberation that allows you to let go of the heavy burdens tied to resentment and pain and shame and guilt. Think of it this way. When you forgive, you're releasing yourself from the emotional prison built by anger and bitterness, because it is. You are actually saying, I'm choosing to not let this control me anymore. Now, we've talked about how holding resentment or blaming someone else is giving our power away. That person or situation is getting all of your energy. It is controlling you, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. And I don't think that's what you want, is it? That's not what I wanted. And this is where the magic of self-forgiveness comes in. Because if forgiving others can set us free, then self-forgiveness is the key that unlocks the door to our own hearts. I always say that forgiveness brings us back home to our own hearts. It's not about the other person. It is about letting go of the guilt and the shame we often carry, like that heavy backpack. I know we've heard that before, but it's a really good metaphor. Because we've all carried a heavy backpack and then we've set it down and, oh my God, my shoulders feel so much better. Many of us hold on to our mistakes and our missteps, replaying them over and over in our minds and punishing ourselves again over and over. But what does this self-punishment accomplish? Well, it keeps us stuck in the past and it prevents us from embracing who we are right now. Okay. Let me repeat that. Self-punishment keeps us stuck in the past, and it prevents us from embracing who we are, who you are right now. Now, this is in the work what we call a secondary gain. And I know that it seems a little counterintuitive because you're saying, wait a minute, I want to feel free. Yeah, maybe. Just maybe there's a part of you that wants to blame the other person so you don't have to move forward, so you don't have to take responsibility for yourself and actually be the person that you really want to be. Maybe you're allowing that, blaming that other person to keep you from taking a risk, getting another job, starting another relationship. That was a story with my ex. It took me a while and quite a bit of work to get to the point where I was willing to see that he wasn't the one suffering. I was. Because I blamed him for a long time. But really, when I got real with myself, I was the one that was holding myself back. Now, let's be honest. Self-forgiveness is not easy. I'm not saying it is. It requires us to look at ourselves with compassion rather than judgment. And up to this point, judgment has been a lot easier than compassion. It's about recognizing that, yeah, we made a mistake, but we are not our mistakes. I'm going to repeat that. We are not our mistakes. When we forgive ourselves, we give ourselves permission to heal those emotional wounds that are keeping us stuck. We can then look at these so-called mistakes and we can reframe them so that we see them as stepping stones for our growth. And here's why this matters. When we forgive ourselves, we reclaim our self-worth. We say, I am deserving of love and kindness, even though I'm imperfect. I know. That's a little hard for those of you, which includes me, that tend to have some perfectionistic tendencies. Okay, we'll admit that. How many of you out there are recovering perfectionists? Yet, we can allow ourselves just to try this on. I am deserving of love and kindness, even though I'm imperfect. This is a big one. And this is one that I'm so grateful that I have worked through. Now, it does pop up here and there, but for the most part, I catch myself. And it feels really good and it feels free because this is what we call an act of self-compassion. And this act of self-compassion builds a healthier relationship with ourselves. It allows us to grow from our experiences rather than be defined by them. It also sets the stage for stronger, more authentic connection with others. When we're not weighed down by guilt and shame, we show up in our relationships more fully, more present, more open, and more understanding. Who doesn't want to be understood? So, let's circle back to this central idea here that we started with, that forgiveness, whether it's forgiving others or forgiving ourselves, is ultimately the gift to the forgiver. It is an act of grace that prioritizes your own well-being, your own healing, and your own growth. Now, it does not excuse the harm that was done, but it does release you from the control it has over your life. Who doesn't want to have their control back? Now, if you're listening to this right now and you're feeling this heavy weight of resentment or self-criticism, I invite you right now, roll your shoulders. Even if you're driving, roll the shoulders and take a deep breath with me. Breathing in. And as you exhale, imagine letting go of just a little bit of that burden, just a little bit of that heaviness. My friend, you don't have to forgive everything all at once, and you do not have to rush the process. Start small. Give yourself permission to release just a little of that guilt or anger today, and then notice how that feels. You do have the choice, because that's the gift of forgiveness, my friend. It's not a grand gesture. It's a series of small, compassionate choices we make for ourselves. I want to thank you with all my heart for joining me on this journey today. I hope this episode has given you some food for thought and a little inspiration to start your own practice of forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness. And please remember, this is a process, and it is okay to take it one step at a time. And until next time, be kind to yourself, forgive where you can, and remember, you are worthy of receiving the love that you give. Take care, my friend. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy it, would you do me a favor and share this episode and then follow us on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss one episode of the Forgive Yourself podcast, where every Friday you will get tips, tools, and stories so that you can turn your pain into peace. Take care.